I am now honored to introduce a recorded presentation of remarks from Director General Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala. Dr. Ngozi has won industry respect for providing leadership at a critical time for the organization. In fact, just this month, she was recognized as the Outstanding Woman of the Year by the Washington Group Women in International Trade. We salute her ongoing efforts to pursue meaningful reforms so the WTO can maintain its role as a pillar of global-based rules, including for services and digital trade. I also want to express how much we in the business community appreciate Dr. Ngozi's work to set a positive agenda and strong set of deliverables for the 14th WTO Trade Ministerial next year. It will be critical for those outcomes to include an extension of the WTO moratorium on duties on e-commerce. And we know Dr. Ngozi has invested much time and energy into addressing any questions or concerns WTO members may have about the moratorium. We certainly view the moratorium as having played an essential role in the growth of digital trade for nearly 3 decades. I'd like to add, since I know we have a number of government colleagues in the room, that CSI appreciates the new administration acknowledging the value of U.S. membership in the WTO, even as it presses for reforms. We strongly encourage the Trump administration to re-engage in the WTO's joint statement initiative on e-commerce, as we think it's important to build on what has already been achieved in the GSI. To that end, it is vital to ensure that any final digital agreement in the WTO includes robust disciplines on data flows and data localization to facilitate trade in digitally enabled services and ensure that a deal has maximum commercial impact. The WTO can play a powerful role in rule setting, and that's more important now than ever. Dr. Ngozi's remarks are particularly timely in light of the WTO ministerial just held at the OECD. With that, I'd like to thank Dr. Ngozi for taking the time to provide remarks for us and to welcome you to view her presentation.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by thanking Christine and the Coalition of Services Industries for the invitation to speak today, and for the work you do to shine a spotlight on why services trade matters for the U.S. economy, U.S. workers, and the competitiveness of American businesses. My schedule made it impossible for me to be in Washington this week, but I'm honored to address such a distinguished group, including congressional members and staff, industry leaders, and top trade experts. This summit and the theme you have chosen couldn't be more timely or more vital. Let's begin with a few facts. Services are the backbone of the U.S. economy. They account for over 3/4 of GDP and nearly 80% of American jobs. Services trade has become a major source of U.S. economic strength. While trade in goods has lost some steam in recent years, services trade has continued to register strong growth. In fast-growing digitally delivered services like cloud computing, streaming media, and professional services delivered via computer networks, the U.S. accounts for over 15% of world exports. I always say that the future of trade is services, it is digital and green. On at least 2 out of these 3, the U.S. is in pole position. In 2024 alone, the U.S. exported over $1.1 trillion in services, 3 times more than China, and nearly twice as much as its nearest competitor, the United Kingdom. The U.S. ran a services trade surplus of nearly $300 billion, including bilateral surpluses with most major economies, including key partners in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. U.S. companies led the world last year in receiving more than $144 billion in intellectual property royalties and licensing fees. And none of these numbers include sales by foreign affiliates of U.S. services companies like Amazon in India or Starbucks in Saudi Arabia. Include them and the value is more than double. Services exports support millions of American jobs. An estimate suggests that workers involved in services exports earn around 15% more than comparably skilled peers in domestically focused services jobs, with a larger export earnings premium for blue-collar workers. According to the U.S. International Trade Administration, services exports directly generated 4.1 million jobs in America in 2022. In addition, around half of the 5.1 million U.S. jobs supported by manufacturing exports actually involve services. Yet, services trade remains vulnerable. While services don't face tariffs, they are often blocked by opaque regulations and discriminatory licensing. Digital trade increasingly encounters barriers like data localization requirements. This is where the World Trade Organization already plays a valuable role, but can and should do more. The WTO provides the only global framework that ensures U.S. services firms receive fair, predictable, and non-discriminatory treatment in over 160 markets. Our e-commerce moratorium, in place since 1998, has preserved predictability in the digital economy by keeping digital exports from software to streaming free from customs duties. Despite growing skepticism from some members concerned about revenue collection and policy space to boost domestic digital industries, we were able to secure an extension to the moratorium at our 13th Ministerial Conference in Abu Dhabi last year. But extending it further will require a political push, which I'll come back to shortly. Our plurilateral agreement on services domestic regulation, which over 70 members started implementing last year, is streamlining authorization processes and cutting red tape. Estimates suggest it will ultimately save businesses as much as $127 billion in annual trade costs. Another plurilateral process involving over 90 WTO members, the Joint Statement Initiative on E-commerce, is working to establish some basic global rules to support and govern the fast-evolving digital trade landscape. This initiative is a vital step towards ensuring that digital trade remains open, secure, and inclusive. Participants have concluded negotiations on an initial set of issues, such as enabling electronic transactions, supporting digital trade facilitation, online consumer protection, and promoting trust in e-commerce. However, the U.S. is among the 20 or so participating members that are yet to endorse the text. But the fact is that we cannot take the WTO system or the new rules members are working on for granted. The multilateral trading system is under enormous pressure. It's no secret that some WTO members are questioning whether the current rules-based trading system in fact benefits them, at least as it pertains to goods. Services trade stands to be affected as well. In fact, our projections show that new goods tariffs are weighing on services trade. We currently expect services trade to grow this year by 4.3% in volume terms, down from our 5.1% baseline forecast before the recent measures. If higher barriers gather momentum, it would be bad for global trade growth and development, and for American firms, workers, and consumers. It would also be bad for U.S. manufacturing. As the job figures I mentioned earlier demonstrate, services are deeply integrated into modern manufacturing. Intellectual property, R&D, management consulting, and computer services are all vital inputs for manufacturing innovation, efficiency, and competitiveness. Top-notch services enable manufacturers to develop new products, improve processes, and manage complex global supply chains. U.S. manufacturers can leverage such services to improve their competitive position in the global market for goods. But realizing the full potential of these synergies between services and manufacturing requires a robust and open services trade framework. U.S. engagement and leadership in global trade discussions on services, whether multilateral or plurilateral, would help American businesses compete more effectively and access more markets. CSI members can urge Congress and the executive branch to continue the United States' historic role in leading the development of global services trade and e-commerce rules. If businesses want the e-commerce moratorium to be renewed at our 14th Ministerial Conference next March, they will have to push hard and reach out to key governments. A facilitator on the moratorium's future will start consultations with members in Geneva as early as next week. We are looking to host a gathering on services, trade, and development this November. I encourage you to participate and share your views on where services trade policy should go from here. Let me end by thanking the CSI and its members for all their efforts. Let's work together to keep services markets open, reduce regulatory frictions, and support growth and job creation at the heart of the modern economy. I wish you all a successful meeting. Thank you.
We're very, very appreciative to Dr. Ngozi for her message. She apologizes that she was not be able to travel to Washington, but we really appreciate the strong message that she gave and the work that she is doing to strengthen the WTO, to deal with the issue of reforms, to address concerns that have been raised by the US. And importantly, all the recognition that she's given to the importance of services and digital in particular, and also working with members in terms of extension of the WTO moratorium. So a big thank you to Dr. Ngozi.